Welcome to the spoken tutorial of Meet the GIMP. In the previous tutorial, I left you with this image. I want to make the ship a bit darker in this image. And the best way to do this is to work with layers. So, first I zoom into the image where the ship is. And I click on the option of adding a new layer and simply add a new layer. I name this layer as ship and I choose the layer fill type as transparency. Now the next step is to reduce the luminosity of all the three color channels, and to do that I have to use the multiply mode, and this time I use a gray color to be multiplied with the other colors here because it helps in getting the ship darker in the image. So go to the option of color selection mode and reduce the value of gray color by pulling the slider down until I get a nice gray color shade. And now just pull the gray color into the image and you get a darker image with a dark ship. Coming back to the layer dialog, I can control the intensity of gray color with the help of opacity slider and by turning the gray layer on and off. But the effect of the layer is applied to the whole image, and I want the effect to be restricted to the area of the ship. For doing that, I use a layer mask. A layer mask defines where the layer should be visible and where it should be invisible. I go to the layer named ship and I right click on that layer and then select the option add layer mask, and I select black in initialize layer mask because black helps in hide all the layers and white helps show all the layers. And these other options I will explain in future tutorials. Click on add. You can see the layer has no effect. I can switch the layer on and off, but no effect after adding layer mask. But I can paint into the layer mask or use some other edit tools. And when I paint or use the tools, the effect will be revealed into the image. To paint into the layer, I use white foreground color and black background color. I click on the brush tool, go to the options dialog and select a brush which is 19 pixels in circle. And I again go to the layers dialog to check if the layer mask is selected because I have to paint the layer mask and not the layer. Let me show you the effect. I change the layer mode to normal layer mode, and as you see, the 4 layer in the image is invisible. I select a brush here and start painting on the portion of the ship, and you can see a gray layer is revealed. Now, when I select the layer itself and paint, you can see the layer is now painted in white color and not gray. I select the layer mask again and press the X key to change the foreground color to black and background color to white, and start painting with white color into my layer mask. And because of black color, the image is hidden. I can undo the unwanted effects simply by pressing Ctrl Z, and here we are back to paint the layer mask of the ship. Now I change the background color to black and foreground color to white and start filling the form of the ship. I think it's much easier to paint in normal mode, as we get a grey ship after painting in normal mode. It is easier to differentiate from background than in multiply layer mode. To paint into the fine edges of the ship, I reduce the brush size. You can select a small brush in 3 different methods. First is by using the scale to reduce the size of the brush. Second way is to click on the small blue triangle here and select the brush of any size, or else you can do that by typing the square brackets. Open square bracket reduces the brush size and close square bracket increases the size of the brush. I want to use the small brush for the details, so I press open square bracket. But you can imagine what I have to do here, and you don't have to look over my shoulder for painting the whole ship. Now I have finished painting the whole ship with a grey layer, and I'll have to check for the areas where I have overpainted the edge. So I switch the layer mode to multiply mode and reduce the opacity slider a bit. Adjust the opacity slider in such a way that you get a dark ship in the image, and I have done a fairly good job. But I am not so happy with the surface of the river in front of the ship, and I have to make it a bit brighter. So I change the foreground color to black by pressing the X key and start painting into the surface of the river in front of the ship with black color to make it less darker than the ship. I have to check out this effect once I finish working on the image and do the changes accordingly. Now let's check out the work I have done. I zoom into the image using the zoom mode, and I can make the ship a bit darker and brighter just by sliding the opacity slider. I think this looks good, and I have done a good job by masking the layer. But I think the color of the ship is a bit dull, and this is possible because the ship layer is above the color correction layer and they are working before the ship layer. So I just drop the ship layer down below the colors correction layers, and you see the change. The color of the ship gets neutral now. Now I look at the whole image, and the shortcut key is Shift Ctrl E, and I think it's a fairly good balance between the background color, the birds and the ship. Perhaps I should slide down a bit with the intensity of the ship, and now it looks better. I think this is best. When I compare the image without darkening and the ship layer, the birds and the ship are fairly dark in the ship layer, and I think I got a good result by using layer mask for this image. I can change the effect with the help of all the layer tools at any time. I nearly forgot a thing, that I painted the layer mask with very sharp edge. And when I zoom into the image, you can see there is a hard border here and I want a little bit smoother because this may look a bit artificial, especially in a foggy scene. For that, I select the layer mask to edit it a bit and choose Filter from the toolbar and select Blur. In Blur, I choose Gaussian Blur and go into the part of the ship and I drop down the value of horizontal radius to 4 and click on OK and blur the layer mask. And you can see the effect that the hard edge of the ship is gone and now it looks good. Now I am ready to do some corrective work with the image. When you look at the image, you can see here a bit of wood in the water and on the left side is half a bird which is cut off at the edge and I want to clone them out. So again I choose the zoom tool and zoom in where the part of wood is and now choose the healing tool. Healing tool is bit like the clone tool but it works better in this case here. When I select the healing tool, I get a circle with the mouse point, but I can't click into the image and there is a forbidden sign in the mouse point. The forbidden sign is because I haven't selected the heal source and I can do it with the control and click. I have to select a good heal source and then I have to press Ctrl and click. And I think this is a good place as heal source. And now click on the wood part. There is a problem here and the problem here is that I am working on the wrong layer. I have to work on the background layer and I was trying to do the edit on the layer mask. Of course, I have to choose a background layer and make a copy of that layer because I don't want to alter the original background layer. Now let's try healing tool again. And now I have made another mistake. My source was this gray layer above. And of course, I undo this and select a new source here. Alright, take that here and just click here. And it is gone. For this part, I select this part as the source and click. And you can see it's gone. Let's look at the image in 100% mode. It looks quite good. Perhaps I should have done it with a little bit greater brush because these dots are still together. So again I select the healing tool and select the source and click on that dots. I think that worked. Now I have to disappear this half-cut bird on the left side. For this, I zoom again into the image here and I select the clone tool. Cloning tool is not so complex like healing tool and I really don't have a big experience in using this tool as it is new in the GIMP. So I have to follow same procedure like healing tool. I just click here as a source, click on the bird here and I think this works. Back to 100%. Perfect. This bird is gone. I think this image is ready now. First, I wanted to make this image a bit brighter, but I think I do it as finishing step and I think it works the way it is now. And I want to give this image to print to get a poster from it. And the printer uses the aspect ratio of 3:2, and this image has the aspect ratio 2:1. So now I have to change that. I can do this with the help of canvas size, which is there in image in the toolbar. I select canvas size and see that the image is 1868 pixels wide and the height is 945, and for calculating the ratio I use my calculator. So I divide 1868 by 3 and then multiply with 2, which gives me 1245. I have to unchain this here, otherwise the width will change too, and type into the height 1245. Now the image is okay. It will fit on top and leave a white strip on the bottom, and I don't resize the layers, just click on OK, and now I have an image with little bit of nothing on the bottom. I have to fill the bottom part, and for that I choose a new layer with layer fill type white and use this layer as the bottommost layer. This white area in the bottom will be cut off later, but I can use it as the clue for the printer. The printer is simply a computer with a print engine behind it, and test to get some clues how to handle. This image is quite unusual here. It is nearly black and white, and it has not much contrast in it. I select a rectangle here just over the whole image, select the blend tool, the gradient filled with, set the gradient to black to white, and now I fill this here with the gradient. Just click and draw a line, and now I have the full color range from black and white in the rectangle. I have an area here from black to full white. I repeat this one more time. Choosing the blend tool here, and this time I use a special gradient called full saturation. It has all the color range in it. And again fill this gradient. Now I have hints for the printer how to preserve the image, and if the colors are off, I can always say here, this was supposed to be red and this was supposed to be green. I think this was it for today. For more information, go to info@meetthegimp.org or leave a comment on the blog meetthegimp.org, or come to the forum from Tips from the Top Floor. Tell me what you liked, what I could have made better, what you want to say in future. This is Hemant Vaidande dubbing for the Spoken Tutorial project.